Hello, here's my annual let's keep our decks nice and, um, you know, do the best we can to preserve them. And so this is a little bit about archival techniques and preservation. So I thought I would just, you know, we're all worried about, especially if we have expensive decks, keeping them the way they should be and just in perfect condition, or if we use it, what are some things we should keep in mind? So I have a few decks here that I have this one, which is pretty beat up. It's from, I think, the late 70s, and I only bought it for 2 cards because my other deck was missing them, and the rest of these I just keep it. It's in pretty rough shape, but it's really protected the cards, but the integrity of this box has become compromised. So what are some things you could do? You could tie it with unbleached cotton thread. You want unbleached because bleached could react. You don't want to use rubber bands. They're awful and they break after a year or so or less. And I absolutely hate rubber bands because I think they're absolutely useless and they do more damage than anything. I would never use staples, regular tape, or glue. You could use glue if it's acid-free glue. We use it in libraries, but what are you going to glue? These are tabs. There's really nothing to glue. The box has been compromised. If I was really concerned about the box, like I wanted to keep it the way it was, I would open it up, collapse it, and store it separately than the cards. That way I'm not interacting with the box and chipping the color off and doing everything. One of the major things I talk about when I try to convey to people of handling delicate archival material is keep your hands clean. Don't use lotion. If you're touching something dirty and you're going to another object, make sure you clean your hands between and make sure they're completely dry. You don't want, my hands sweat, depending on the temperature. If your hands are sweating, every 20 minutes, wash your hands because you're starting to produce oil that could get on the items, especially paper. So we're dealing with paper. Whenever you're dealing with paper, you're talking about lignins, you're talking about acid, you're talking about how the paper's made. I actually reached out to Los Scarabeo a few years ago, and they said, we cannot reveal the secrets and makeup of our paper. But it does comply with ANSI standards, ANSI standards. It's an international standard of how paper should be made to be, I guess, what's the word? For posterity, to exist and not fall apart as soon as you buy it, essentially, and to last for some time. So most card decks are coated with plastic, and that sort of saves the paper, but the plastic can break down. There's all different types of coatings, and they're all over the place, so it's very difficult to pin them down for decks. Here's an original Barbara Walker Tarot. It's in excellent shape, but it does have a sticker. I'm not going to remove that sticker. It's an ISBN sticker. Whoever sold this, this is before ISBNs were actually put on material. So they had to stick one on there. ISBN 10, ISBN 13 is now the standard because they ran out. Actually there is an ISBN 13 on here, 9780. That 780 tells me it is, this was put on there after. So this was a store's tarot, and it says BW78. I believe this is I think this is 86 though. Came out in 86, this one. The box is in amazing shape. I leave it like this. If I was worried about preserving it, I could use a polypropylene bag and make sure it's secure in there, and I would probably tape or tie it so that it doesn't move around in it. You can get these very cheaply on Amazon. You want PVC-free polypropylene. When I store my records, I have thicker, so a lot of times you'll see 2 mil. These are 2 mil. As you increase the mil size, the millimeter, it will become more cloudy. So 2 is pretty standard. 3 and 4 is a little excessive, but it does protect it from a little bit of a buffer from being damaged. It's thicker, it's coarser. 4 mil is actually really nice for more delicate material, but for standard stuff that's pretty solid, 2 mil is perfectly fine. If it's something you're really concerned about and you want to keep it in like really good shape, you can get some acid-free tissue paper to wrap it and store it wherever you want to store it. Whatever you store it in, just remember, this will actually create a buffer against anything, but you don't want to store in like a plastic tub. Never a good idea. Or a cardboard box that you never check on, because cardboard boxes are notorious for silverfish, for things getting inside of it, so you need to monitor it. And when you're talking about the environment and how you're keeping your decks, humidity is important. If it's comfortable for you, it's comfortable for your material. You never, usually 45 to 55 to 60% humidity, relative humidity, is normal for a household, and that's okay. You want around 50% relative humidity for any paper products, books, etc. When you get to plus 60, you get into mold environment. And when you get into mold, you can never take the mold out of something once it's established. It's considered contaminated and must be stored separately. I have a longer sort of hour lecture on preservation with photos and things and documents, so it sort of goes into that. So this is another deck I have. This is it's a signed Antonella Castelli. It's the Art Nouveau, and this is the special art series that Lo Scarabeo put out. I'm going to stick the signed card back in. Very delicate. And these are uncoated cards, which I think is so cool. It's a beautiful, beautiful box. I love the marbling on it. It's beautiful. I have 2 of these special decks. It's only an edition of 250. Very, very uncommon, beautiful decks. I leave them in their box and I store them away from light. That's the other thing you need to worry about. Light. UV light is destructive usually to colors and plastic. So I store this out of the light. Usually you don't want never direct sunlight. I forget what the lux number is for archival things, but UV light, if it's bright and sunny, you need to shield those things, in a wall or something. So I use shelving, and I use some little doors to shut some of my objects in, so my signed books. But where I store them is relatively dim. I have 3 windows. I have 2 to my right. I have 1 across the room, but it's shaded by trees. Very rarely do I get direct sunlight. But I keep like the special decks like this one. I don't have it wrapped up. I also don't shuffle it around on the shelf much because that could cause wear. I just place it where I want to store it. If you're really concerned about your deck, if it's very fragile, if it's very special, unbleached cotton is great. It's usually cotton muslin, not muslin. You wrap it. I'm really leery about silks because silks can attract silverfish. They could attract moths because it's a natural fiber. Cotton is too, but it's resistant. A lot of things don't want to eat cotton, but they do want to eat wool and silk. So keep that in mind. Rayon should be okay because it's synthetic, but again, stick with natural. Think natural, like this unbleached cotton cord. I have another tool that I use. This is if you have something that you're like, I'm so careful about like breaking seals and all. You can use this tool. It's called a spatula. It's used in science. It's also used in book repair. It's used in lots of things. You can easily go under things and lift up material to look at it. So this one, the box is splitting here. We can use this also to examine it. It splits to there. It's starting to split to there. I don't want to force it in there and rip it open. It's fine here. Someone has taped the back of this with regular Scotch tape, no good. I could take it off, but this top flap would detach. If I was really worried about, which I'm not, this is sort of a, wouldn't say throwaway deck, but it's incomplete. But I do have all the majors in here. It's the lovely Tavaglione. Everybody loves Tavaglione. You know, I would take the tape off. Whenever you're trying to preserve something, if someone has taped it up, you want to delicately remove the tape if you can. If it is really stuck, I would take the cards out of the box, use a hair dryer or something with heat, and loosen the adhesion that way. So humidity, the environment. So when you store things, also think of what's being done, temperature. So relative to temperature, the best preservation temperature is usually around 55 degrees, which is pretty cool. And most people don't like 55 degrees, but that's great for paper. Most of us like around maybe 68, 72. That's perfectly fine for storing material. What you really don't want to do is store stuff in an attic where all of a sudden it's 0 degrees Fahrenheit and then it's 110 Fahrenheit or 120 Fahrenheit because it's your attic, or your garage where the temperatures fluctuates. What happens is paper fibers and moisture and humidity, paper fibers go like this and they just start to break up and become brittle. Now I mentioned lignin. Lignin in paper is acidic. And as oxygen and moisture interact with the lignin, the problem with the paper is it starts to yellow and break apart. Nice thing about decks is they're pretty much sealed even though this box isn't airtight, the cards are limiting the oxygen and moisture that are getting to them. So it's actually pretty resilient. Plus you add a plastic coating on the outside, they're going to last quite a while. But if I store this in 100-degree temperature, it's going to, start to break down. The plastic coating might start to peel, separate from the actual cards, damage the cards. So you need to worry about that. My first deck, my RWS that I got in when did I get? 1989. I would stick it in my window because I thought, I want the moonlight to shine on it, the sun to shine on it. Well, that's great. But guess what? The whole back of it faded. You can still read it, but it faded the box. Didn't hurt the cards, but I didn't know any better. I was like 10 years old, 11 years old when I got my first deck. So that wasn't good for me, but I still have the deck. The box is it's worn a little bit on the outside. Some people, if they have a deck they're using quite a bit, they take it out of the box and use like a velvet bag or something. That's perfectly fine. The one thing I would caution you is don't let the cards move too much you want a sort of fitting type drawstring bag is fine, or a flap bag. Those are really good. Material doesn't matter. A lot of people use silk, velvet, cotton. That's cool. What was the other thing? Boxes. So the lignin, most of these we don't have to worry about, but we do have to worry about the boxes. They're usually made out of fairly cheap paper, except for the harder ones. That's got cardboard in it. So it can be sensitive to discoloration and all. So just keeping it out of the light and keeping it out of moisture, humidity is important. I think that's the simplest things to worry about. And of course the big thing, if you're using a deck, oils on your hands, lotions, keep your hands clean. Don't eat, don't drink, don't spill anything. You want to keep your cards if you're using them. I don't like people to touch my cards. If I am giving a reading, which is extremely rare, I will break my cards in half and I'll say, do your thing and touch the top of the cards. I don't want them to shuffle them because people, sometimes they shuffle them and they can split the cards, and then you basically want to twist their head and make them go to sleep permanently. don't mess with my cards. You know, I keep them my way. You can touch them to imbue your energy on them, but don't you shuffle them. No, no. My cards, my shuffling. I'll shuffle my own way. If I damage them, that's on me. So anyway, so those are some simple tips just to help you maintain your deck. I mean, I have, well, we can include this one too. This one's brand new. I would keep this one out of the light. Also, if you buy a deck, the shrink wrap, take the shrink wrap off the cards and the box. That stuff will not be, I've had a deck from the 70s that had never been opened. I opened it up and the cards were still in the plastic. The plastic had yellowed and had started to stick to the cards. It could damage the cards. Same thing with records. Some people say take them out of the original shrink wrap. That shrink wrap is very cheap, and it does tend to shrink and also become brittle, so it's not very protective. So the plastic is meant to be temporary to get to you, the consumer. So those are my tips. I hope they informed you and help you keep your collection healthy and help you preserve it and understand what's going on. Thanks for watching.